So in this lesson, we're going to learn how to store and retrieve data from our database. We're going to be using Firebase, and Firebase actually helps you develop, measure, improve, and grow your mobile application. It is backed by Google, trusted by millions of businesses around the world, as they say. And it provides a wide range of solutions or services. So let's take a look. So Firebase allows you to store your data on the cloud. It allows you authentication, app check, cloud functions, cloud messaging, even hosting your website, and much more. But what we're going to be interested in today is the cloud Firestore. So this is the one that allows you to build your application, store your app data in the clouds, and be able to actually display them in your application. We're also going to be interested in authentication because we want users to actually be able to log in, log out, sign in, create accounts in our application. So we're going to learn how to set up Firebase, how to set up Firebase authentication, and how to set up Firestore database so that you can be able to cloud store our data. So there are actually two ways in which you can set up your Firebase. The first one is when you are creating your project. So if you click on create new, and let's say you say this is a new project, so I'm going to delete it later, and to say create blank. So once you've created your project, you're going to see this section right here, set up Firebase. And if you leave it checked and you press next, it's going to ask you to enter your Firebase project ID. So this is if you've already created a Firebase project, a Firebase account, and now you want to create or connect it to your application. So you can copy the ID and paste it here, or you can just go ahead and let FlutterFlow create a project for you. So I'm going to click on create project, and this is actually going to be connected to my Google account or to my Google Firebase account. So it's going to be called new project, and this is what I'm creating. I'm going to go ahead and select location, so Europe, which is closer to me. And then I'm going to go ahead and sign in with Google, right? And it's going to do some magic for you. So you're going to give this some minutes. Good. So now we can see that a Firebase project has been created by FlutterFlow, and they have actually extracted the project's ID and pasted it here. So if you want to use authentication, so to allow users to log into our application, and that is what you want, we're going to select this right here. If you want Firebase to actually create a user collection for you, or like a user table where you can store the user email, name, and so on, you can select this one as well. And you're going to auto generate the config files. And these configuration files are necessary when connecting to Firebase because this actually contains various settings and keys that enable your project to be able to communicate with Firebase services. So you're going to generate config files. It's going to take some time to generate. So we have generated the configuration files. We have enabled authentication. We have created a user collection. Now we need to select initial pages. And these pages are actually saying the entry page is like your login page or your landing page. So it's asking you which page is the user going to see first once they land on your application. And then the logged in page is which page the user going to see once they have logged in. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up. And I can just select from a template because each lesson is focusing on some key learning points. And right now we're learning how to set up our Firebase. So we don't need to recreate everything from scratch. So I'm going to select a template, and I can use default on my theme. I haven't really set up a theme, but I'm going to select my theme anyway. And this is going to be login page. Good, create page, and that's going to be created. And then once the user has logged in, where are they going to land? So I'm going to select another one let's see, maybe a profile page, right? Let's look for profile, and this looks okay. Select profile page, good, create, and start building. So press on start building, and that's it. We have actually set up Firebase. If you go over here to our settings, we can see that our Firebase has been created. We can also go to authentication and see that it's enabled. So if we go to Firebase and actually go to console, you can see that the project was automatically created here. And if you click on it, we're just going to go ahead and select the product that you want to use. So first we want to use authentication. Go press on that to add it as a shortcut here. Get started. And then we want users to be able to use email and password to log in. There are a lot of other options, Google, Facebook. You can even log in with your phone number. So we're going to enable this, enable, and then save. And that's it. Email has been enabled. We're going to go back to the project overview and go to Google Cloud's Firestore, so that we can also add it here on the shortcut. Good. So that's it about setting up your Firebase when you're creating a new project. The second way is to actually set up your Firebase if you already have an existing project. So in our case, we just go back still to settings and then Firebase, and then you can press on create project. But a project has been created and it's literally the same, steps that you're going to be following. Okay, so I really hope you've been following along and you know what is happening. It's challenge time. So I want you to go ahead and create or set up Firebase for this project. So pause the video now and complete this challenge. Alright, so I really hope you gave that challenge a go. And now that we have created our project in Firebase and we have connected it to FlutterFlow, we're now going to go ahead and create a Firestore collection, or create our database. But first, let's try to understand what is a Firestore database. So Firestore database is a product from Google's Firebase. It's a very flexible and scalable NoSQL cloud database. So it allows you to store your app data and actually uses real-time listeners to keep the data in sync. So let's go ahead and try to create our first collection. But before doing this, there are actually some key terms that we need to remember and understand. So the first key term is a collection. So a collection is simply a set of documents. Now, a document is a record that contains fields, and fields are key value pairs inside the document. So, for example, name, place, age, and a key would be the name, and a value would be let's say, Angela. A place will be the key, and the value will be, let's say, London. In order for me to illustrate this, let me just go over to Freeform and show you how would this work. And inside a collection, we can actually have a lot of documents. So let's say we can have as many documents as we want, because let's say you have 1 million users, right? So you can have 1 million documents, and each user is considered a document. And putting all those documents together, it creates a collection called users. And inside each document, we're going to have key value pairs that we talk about, and these are fields. So let's say a user gonna have a name, right? They're gonna have a surname. This is not how you write surname. They're gonna have let's say they're gonna have a location, so where they stay, a location, and let's say date of birth, right? So these are now fields that can be contained inside a document. So the user first, we're gonna say their name is, for example, Angela. The surname is Smith. So these are the key value pairs called fields. Location, we're gonna say London, for example. And date of birth, maybe 6th or 4th June 1997. And so I really hope this gives you like kind of like the basic understanding of how a database works. And we're going to go into the the relations and the sub collections and everything in the future. But this is like the first thing you need to understand about database and the key terms that you need to remember: collection, documents, and fields. All right, so to see how to structure the database in FlutterFlow, let's consider an example that allows users to comment on a post. So let's say you're creating a feed, and this feed is going to have posts, a post which can have images, the time it was posted. The post can have comments, it can have likes, it can have the owner of the post. So let's say we create a post as a collection, and we're going to talk about sub collection as well. So let's create the post. So a collection has been created, and then we're going to create the fields inside the post. So this post can have an image, and an image is actually of data type image path. So when you're creating a field in a database, you need to give it a data type, and like which data is it going to accept, or which data type is it going to accept. So let's say we have an image. Let's say maybe we have a caption. So we're going to have a caption, and the caption, remember, it's someone writing a caption. So this is going to be a text. So there can be a lot of different types of data. There are integers. So this is a number like 1, 2, a single number. We have a double, which can be like a decimal number, 2.5. We have a string, which is a piece of text. And then we have a Boolean. So a Boolean is usually yes or no. So for example, sometimes you might say, okay, has this post has been flagged or deleted? Then you can say yes or no. So you can say is deleted, for example. Then you can say yes or no. Or let's say an account is deleted and you don't want it to be permanently deleted, right? So that you can give the user some time to maybe recover or restore their account. So you can say is deleted, yes or no. So once this is checked to yes, then obviously the account is not going to be seen on the app anymore. So that's some logic that can go behind the Boolean. On top of the Boolean, we have the color, we have image, video, and you might explore some other ones as we go. So in FlutterFlow, you can structure the database in two ways, right? So when you're creating relationships between documents. So the first one is the top level collection. A top level collection, as in our example where we're creating posts which can have comments and so on, is when you create a post which is a document inside a collection. This post can have a title, it can have a date, it can have comments. Or you're going to create another collection, right? Another document that's going to be storing the comments for that specific post. So this can be comment text, comment date, and the post reference. So from which post is this comment referring to? And then you're going to bind it to this. And you're going to show this in a practical manner later on. Second way of structuring data in Firebase is creating sub-collection. Sub-collections are collections that are created inside another document. So for example, you create the top level collection here, such as post, and then you create comment collection as sub-collection inside this post collection. So the advantage here is that you don't need like another extra tag like previously where we tagged the post reference. So you don't need that to know which post a comment belongs to. So it's already grouped right under here. All right, let's try and create this. So the first one is the top level collection, and we're going to try and create relationship between post and comments, right? So we've created a post has an image, is deleted. Or we can actually delete this because we actually don't need it. A post can have a caption, right? And this just gonna be text. A post can have a date or the timestamp. And then this is going to be date and time, and so on. Right. The second collection you can create is comments. So when you're creating comments and you know that this comment is going to belong to post, so you can say the comment text or the actual comment, and this is going to be a string, right? The comment can also have a timestamp, and this is going to be date and time. And then when you're creating them separately or at top level, then you have to reference the post, because a comment has to belong to a post. So you're going to say, for example, post reference, right? And then the data type gonna be document reference, and then it's gonna tell you to select what documents you want to refer to, and we have the post. Good. And that's it. Now there's some relationship between the post and the comments. The other way to create this is when you're creating a sub collection. So if comments were sub collection, you'll check here sub collection, and then you're going to ask under which collection these comments should actually go, and then you're going to select under the post. Right now we only have post, so you're going to click create. Now you can see that the comments are actually under the post. So we're going to say comment text again. Good. And then the date or timestamp. And now we actually don't need to reference the post anymore because it's already under the post. Good. So these are the two ways of actually structuring data inside Firebase. All right, so we have created our database, but now you might ask, how do we now pull the data from the database? So I'm going to go ahead to the app that we've been building, and then I'm going to go to the database and create a collection. So I'm going to say property, right? And that's not how you write property, create. And a property gonna have a cover image, and this is gonna be of image path, and maybe the address. And this is just gonna be a string for now. So we're going to talk about addresses and how to calculate the distance and the ratings later on when we're talking about third-party and API integrations. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and actually add maybe 3 documents so that you can be able to create the data and put the data back inside our application. So I'm going to click on add documents, and we did say this is an image path, so I'm going to press on URL, and I already have some URLs, so I'm just going to copy that and paste it in here. And the address, I'm going to say, let's say Cape Town, South Africa, and create. I'm going to go ahead and create 2 more of this. So that's created. Now to display these images in my app, I'm going to go back to the application. So inside the app, I already have a column here. So, and the container that contains the search bar. So maybe I'm going to add another column inside. So let's go ahead and add another column. Good. And then maybe I can add a container just to kind of like put everything together and know where things are separating from each other. So I'm going to add a container. And inside this container, I can add another column, because obviously we're going to have the image and the text, and things are aligning from top to bottom. So I'm going to add another column, and then I can now add an image. And maybe I'm going to go ahead and remove the height of this container so that it can stretch. Good. So we have container, a column, we have an image. Let me just, fix this a little bit. So I'm going to tell it to stretch and check my image and give it some width. So maybe 400 or 380 sounds good. Yeah, or just let it stretch, and then I can give it some paddings. So I'm going to give this container here some padding. So from left, maybe 12, and from right, maybe 12 as well. And this is looking really good. I'm going to give this column some padding as well on top, so that we can see what is happening, and there's a beautiful space there. Cool. So we've added the container, a column, an image, and then we have like two widgets next to each other. And what can help us achieve this? I guess a row. So you're going to add in another row. Inside this column right here, we're going to add a row. And inside this row, we're just going to add two text widgets. 1, 2. Good. And then we're going to stretch them a little bit or separate them evenly. Maybe this one, space between, and that looks good. I'm going to give it some paddings as well. So we're giving 12, 12, so maybe 6 top, 6 bottom. Great. We're going to add, so this is going to be for the address and the price. We're going to add another row for the distance and the ratings. So we're going to add another row here. So I'm just going to Command D to duplicate it. Great. And this is looking close to what you're building. Good. So for us to actually connect data and pull data from Firebase, we're going to go to the column and go here on this icon, this database icon, and press on that. And you have this add query. So this is querying from the back end or from the database. And then the query type going to be a query collection. And then the Firebase collection we're using is a property. So once you press confirm, so this is going to tell you by adding a backend query to this column, you are telling it to generate its children dynamically from the returns list of property document. And that is what we want. So we're going to press confirm, and the database is connected. Now, to use the image of the property, we go to the image. And whenever you see this little icon here, this means you can add some dynamic value in here or some value from the database. So I'm going to press that, and then we're querying on the property document. Press on property document. Already FlutterFlow is smart enough to know that an address cannot go there because an address is of type text. But what we want here is an image. So it's already telling you, hey, you can add the image here. So I'm going to press on cover image. Good. And if I preview this, if you preview it, you're actually not going to see anything because preview only works, for designs and so on. But if you want some logic, you want to pull data and view them, then you're going to have to use the test mode. All right, so let's use the test mode. Brilliant. So now we can see that our images are actually loading from Firebase. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this a little bit to make it look like what we are going for. So I'm going to add the price, increase the size here, and then I'm going to add the miles and the rating. But I'm going to make these static for now. So let's go ahead and say 32 miles away. And then in here, we can say maybe 4.5. So I'm going to add an icon here for the star. And in order for me to do that, we know that we need to stack this to the icon. So I'm going to go ahead and press in this text right here and wrap it up. So Command B and wrap it up in a row. So once I have a row, I can go ahead and add an icon. So I'm going to add a store. And that's it. That was pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and edit this a little bit. So I can actually just add the price of these properties. So I'm going to go back to the database, and inside here I'm going to add price. and this can be an integer. Let's make it an integer. Good. I'm gonna go to manage contents and actually edit those. So for the first property, I'm going to press edit and say $200, for example, per night. Then I'm gonna say 350 for this one, update. And then for this one, I'm gonna say, let's say $100. Good. So I'm gonna go ahead and edit the font size of this one. So let's give it 40 maybe. Oh, that's too much. 20. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and actually replace this placeholder with the actual price. So I'm gonna go to text and pull it from the database. And actually I can see that if you go back to our preview, it's actually like two texts combined, right? So there is the price and then there is the per night. How can we achieve this? I'm gonna go back to the app and press on the database and say combine text. So it's two texts. The first one gonna come from the database, so property and then price, and that is set. And then the second one gonna be just a / and then night. I can actually just add the dollar here to make it easy really, and then refresh again or instant reload. Wait, so this is showing the price, it's showing the image, but we have like two issues. So I have this yellow thing here that is making my life difficult really, and the other issue is that it's still saying hello world instead of saying, or instead of outputting the address. So you know what's coming. Yeah, that's challenge time. So I want you to go ahead and actually replace this placeholder with the actual address and then find a way to enable us to scroll. So please pause the video now, go ahead and complete this challenge.